to a massive online presence, Billboard Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
So
guys.
you're a sort of transgender anti-activist? And
I'm a pro-child advocate.
no, you're not transgender yourself. No, that would have.
So Billboard Chris, you rose to fame because you decided to just start taking out adverts that were pro-children and saying that they shouldn't have their genitals amputated, they shouldn't be given puberty blockers, and you've taken a fair degree of hate about that in your native country. Why don't you just bring us up to speed for those of our viewers who haven't seen you before?
Sure. Well, I'm a walking, talking human billboard, I guess.
You're Canadian, aren't you?
I am, and I travel around the world, but I started this off with a billboard that was very controversial for its hate message. It said, "I love J.K. Rowling." And I was following the lead of a woman here in the UK who put up that sign at the Edinburgh train station, and it got taken down for hate speech. And I got tired of people not being able to talk about things.
Yes.
And what has J.K. Rowling done? All she does is defend women and children. And she's the world's greatest children's author, and we can't say we love her. So I put up a big billboard on the side of the road in Vancouver, Canada, that said the same thing. It also lasted just a day. It got taken down.
Is it worse there than here?
No.
Similar. What, you mean it's worse here?
Freedom of speech is worse in the UK for sure.
What do you mean, in a legal sort of governmental way? I mean, you had your problems, didn't you, with your president or prime minister, didn't you?
Yeah, right, just to be clear, Canada doesn't have a president, it has a king. Guess who it is?
No,
yeah, and we had our Justin Trudeau, who doesn't know how many genders there are, but...
Yeah.
By the way, we don't allow criticism, just to be clear, we don't allow criticism of Justin Trudeau because he's Canada's first black prime minister. We don't allow that.
That's right, we got to take it easy on him. But no, we don't have people getting arrested for writing social media posts. Like over 30 people here in the UK are getting arrested. No,
yeah,
that's not
never
happening.
happened. Nothing happens like that.
No,
so it's sort of like USA in that you've got the freedom of speech.
Yeah, we're not as strong. Our Constitution isn't as strong as the First Amendment. But I say whatever I want, wherever I want, in defiance of what the government wants, and I'm totally fine. The problem is you get all these corporations who, if you were to say what I would say, they would fire you because it goes against their personal policies.
And you had that because of what Trump said. You got in that ridiculous man who used to run our Bank of England in now. I mean, what's going on there, man?
Yeah, he was governor of the Bank of Canada too, and he's a Goldman Sachs guy. Who failed upwards, I think, at Goldman Sachs is what I've been told. But he's a climate zealot. Well, we'll see. I think he's more pragmatic than Trudeau. But he's just another
Trudeau
bad
was
apple,
just an extremist, wasn't he, in reality?
An extremist, and honestly, he's as dense as a bag of hammers. He just doesn't know what's going on.
And I'll tell you what, the other thing that was depressing about Trudeau was that he's basically just to the manor born. But anyway, let me talk to you about the big thing that's happened this week, which is the murder of Charlie Kirk. We can talk all day about the fact that certain people are cock-a-hoop. We saw Nadia Hussein, who is the winner of MasterChef 6. She was talking about how, oh, well, you know, good riddance and all. I forget exactly what she said, but she called him a bigot and an Islamophobe. We saw Turning Point UK say that the reason for this attack was the language of people like David Lammy. You yourself have had your arm broken in the past. Let's just watch a video before you comment on Charlie Kirk of what you described as a fairly minor incident, but this is from Glasgow just a couple of days ago.
I love the suit.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
I'm about to call the police on you. So you're gonna calm right the down and you're gonna keep walking. You understand? Keep walking.
It's horrendous.
So, I mean, how worried are you about the situation with Charlie Kirk? Because there seems to be a direction of travel. That instant was somebody grabbing your mic and having a bit of a go at you. You look as if you weren't overly worried. But there is a direction of travel, which is prohibit free speech, lock people up that you don't like, and then basically stand by and don't mind if they're injured or killed.
Yeah, the left is advocating for violence. They're celebrating violence. We've seen this. We've seen posts with hundreds of thousands of likes glorifying the death of Charlie Kirk. And what has Charlie done?
But that's the reason why he was shot, because of this horrendous what's going on. People, they're calling him far right. They're saying that you're fascist Nazis, and this results in people with low IQs shooting him.
Charlie had conversations with people who had differing opinions, and he had civil conversations. It's the same thing I do on this issue on the street. I'm no Charlie Kirk, he's a legend. Charlie Kirk built probably the most powerful conservative organization in the United States that was helping to swing the elections, but more importantly, it was helping to change the culture on college campuses. And universities are ground zero for everything that is going wrong in the world. So he's a huge threat to the left. But this kid that shot him, I call him a kid, he's 22 years old. He's been radicalized somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
But look at who's doing the radicalizing. It's the media. It is all these university professors.
Politicians.
It's every institution on the left
look at
using language like Charlie's a fascist.
Well, look at the Oxford Debating Society. The incumbent chairman, and maybe he won't be, he might resign, was going, lol, he's been shot, this guy. And not only that, the strange thing and the evil thing about it is he would have had lunch with him or dinner with him about a month ago, shook his hand, looked him in the eye, and then he's celebrating the man's death. I mean, these people on the left, they're deranged. I think some of them have mental illnesses, and they're evil, are they not? Or do you think they're actually sort of almost like in a cult? I mean,
it is like a cult for many practical purposes. Gender ideology is certainly a cult for all practical purposes, the largest one in the world.
And the green issues as well.
I'll tell you what we were worried about, Chris. Obviously the name Tyler Robinson had not been mentioned. This suggestion that the FBI have made today, that the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk had scraped into it, hey fascist, catch. Right. Now, we don't know if that's true. That's what the FBI have said. That's what they're alleging. The courts will decide. But what we were saying, Asher and I, last night, is there is a world in which the shooters, the people attacking, are victims as well. And the reason I say that is because there is going to be somebody emotionally unhinged or educationally subnormal who genuinely believes that the killing of Billboard Chris makes a Holocaust less likely. There are people who've been told that, and there are people who will believe it. Now, look, I could paper the walls with people saying far-right fascists, all this sort of thing, and we don't take it seriously because we think it's ludicrous, but what we're forgetting is the number of young people who've been indoctrinated into believing, as an example, that if Nigel Farage becomes the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, there will be gas chambers built in Clapham Junction.
And it only needs one to, and there's plenty of deranged people.
Yes, there's a group psychosis going on is what it is. It's mass hysteria. I was in Brussels recently. I was put in jail along with my friend Lois McClatchy Miller.
Yes.
I think you know her from ADF International.
She came on the show that night, actually, yeah.
Oh, okay. And what were we doing? Standing peacefully on the street, waiting for people to approach us to have a conversation about why children can't be maimed and sterilized. But all throughout that city, we were being called fascists. And these people believe it.
And then you get arrested, so the authorities play along with it, and they sort of, the process is the punishment, from what I heard. What sort of process happened to you when you were arrested?
So we were strip searched, thrown in jail.
I mean, why would you need to be strip searched when you're just someone with a placard?
That's right. So there's no
they're trying to punish you with the process there.
But I'll tell you, so I haven't spoken about this publicly. An interesting story considering the time right now. As I was getting strip searched, the guard in the jail said to me, as I'm standing there in my underwear, he said, "So are you like Charlie Kirk?"
Wow.
And I said, "No, I mean, we talk about some of the same issues, but, you know, Charlie is, of course, a legend."
Did you delve into what he meant by that? Did you?
Well, I think he actually probably supported what I was doing and supported my message, but the person he knows of from the United States of America who has conversations
was Charlie Kirk.
So Charlie Kirk was having an impact all over the world.
Do you think he would have been president, Charlie Kirk? He was seen as sort of a Kennedy figure, and what happened to him being shot in front of his family in a horrendous way was so similar, so many parallels.
Yeah, I think for sure he would have been one day. He's not even old enough to be right now. You have to be 35.
I think what would have
probably in 12 years or so.
I think what would have happened, and it would depend. I think for vice president you have to be 35 as well because you're a member of the Senate. So
because you might become president.
Yeah, you might become president.
What I thought was, of course. What I thought was, depending on how 31 he was, J.D. Vance might have made him the vice presidential candidate, because it would depend when his birthday was as to whether he'd made it to 35 by inauguration day.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie had his whole life ahead of him still. So he had 30 years to make that decision.
Yes.
Right? Even longer. Look at the presidents now. They're all in their 70s.
Yeah.
But he was building this extremely powerful organization that was almost more powerful than any temporary government job.
But J.D. Vance will run for president, and that would have been the obvious choice for vice president.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what,
Marco Rubio's a good choice too.
That's a good point. I'll tell you what, let's go back. Let's go to a break, because I do want to talk about your ongoing campaigns and how you see things going in Britain. But just to be clear, what Billboard Chris is campaigning about, when we talk about chemical castration of sex offenders, those are the drugs that the Tavistock Clinic were given to children who were presenting as trans. Now, you know, look,
they still are, by the way, to existing
There's an EU loophole,
patients,
apparently.
And they want to do a clinical trial on kids, which is totally unethical and unnecessary.
I'll tell you what, okay, so we'll stick with us, because we're going to talk about the clinical trial of chemically castrating children. Unbelievable, depressing, but next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, this is the Late Show with Andre, Walker and Ash Gould. And I was going to say, I've decided how I'm going to describe you. The child safety campaigner, Billboard Chris. OK, Chris, look, during the break, we tried to get our heads around exactly what's going on. Do you know what I think we'll do, Asher and I? Why don't we ask you to give us an update on where we're up to with puberty blockers, castration, chemical castration, laws in this country, rules in that country. What's happening right now?
The way parents are getting around these rules through loopholes.
Sure. So in England, they banned puberty blockers for new patients.
And that's chemical castration, right?
Yes.
Right,
the same exact drug is given to pedophiles in various jurisdictions in the world to chemically castrate them.
Fine. Okay.
They're not eligible for parole until they get it.
Right.
And they give this to kids.
Yes.
Now, the kids are still getting it. If a kid had started it, if a child had started this 1 month before the ban went into effect, they can stay on it for the duration of their puberty.
Okay.
And
will it cause them to be sterilised and
Yes.
not have sexual function?
Yes, when you start puberty blockers at what is called Tanner stage 2, that's the beginning of puberty when these kids are 10, 11, 12 years old, and they progress to the cross-sex hormones, which are still legal for children in England.
How? Why?
They didn't ban them. They did in Scotland.
Did they leave a loophole on purpose? Because what parents are doing is going to other jurisdictions like Ireland and being able to get it through that.
Yeah, and they're traveling to Spain to get these drugs.
So do you
they
think
need
that
to
was left
criminalize
on
this.
purpose to get to allow? Because there's still all activists inside these institutions.
Well, this is following guidance of the NHS. And if you read Dr. Hilary Cass's report, I mean, it's good in that it does say truthfully that there is no evidence to support transitioning kids. And of course, you compare that to the grave harm that's being done.
Yeah.
But she kind of uses the language of the left and believes that some people are transgender. So there's still that problem there.
It's
and
still
they still want to do it.
It's still captured.
It's still captured by this ideology.
Here's what I want people to understand, and you are you've got so much more expertise on this than I have. But here's what I understand: that people will go onto parents' forums, you know, Mumsnet or whatever. I don't know if it's just Mumsnet, but they go on and they'll say, my child is saying that they are trans. And what people will say in response is, oh my God, do you know the number of trans children that commit suicide? If you do not go down this process, your child will die. Now, the reason I make that point
I
is
would love
because,
to address that.
Yeah, because the reason I make that point is because a lot of these parents are not bad people. They're being told their child will die if they do not follow this. Why don't you address that? Yeah, do it.
What a form of coercion to tell a parent that they can have a dead daughter or a live son.
Yes.
The only way you can justify this child abuse is by saying kids will die if you don't do it. But what's the evidence for that? None. This has been a despicable lie.
There's evidence they'll die if you do it. Because
suicides do go up after transition, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the only evidence we have, the only actual study that's ever been done was Finland. They looked at 24 years worth of data from 1996 to 2019, And there were 7 suicides out of 2,000 kids over 24 years, a 0.052% annualized rate. And they compared it to a control group, a sample group of 17,000 kids. The suicide rates weren't that different. The common denominator was other mental health problems.
But also, here's the other thing, Chris, that I wonder about, because when you, let me give you an example about my friend who died during coronavirus, right? So he was somebody who, because he was locked up, he drank himself to death during coronavirus. Now, when you look at the figures, they turn around and they say, the justification for the lockdown was the increased number of deaths amongst younger people. So he was included in a statistic that was presented as evidence for the lockdown being a good idea. Because effectively they said, look, there were increases in young people dying. They included my friend who drank himself to death, who would not have drank himself to death had there not been a lockdown. What it seems to me happens with and forgive me if I'm losing the audience, but what it seems to me happens with these statistics is they turn around and they say, trans children are more likely to commit suicide, but they don't include the statistic for people who are not transitioned when they say they're trans, right? So if I walk up to, if you're my dad and I walk up to you and go, oh, I'm trans, and you go, no, you're not counted in the statistic. You're only counted in the statistic if you do start some sort of trans therapy. So this statistic on suicides amongst trans people, if it were true, would more likely demonstrate the treatment they're being given is leading to the suicides, rather than the fact that they presented themselves as trans in the first place. I don't know if you followed that, but you see my point.
Now, can you start again from the beginning?
Yeah, so in the United States, there was a lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court because Tennessee put a ban in place, and the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, were suing for the right to sterilize kids.
Yes.
The same organization sued not to give these drugs to pedophiles, by the way.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Anyway, Chase Strangio, a woman pretending to be a man, the lawyer for the ACLU, she admitted before the Supreme Court justice that actually completed suicides are very rare. And what they've been talking about this whole time is suicidal ideation. But no, that's not what they've been talking about. They are saying kids are going to die if you don't transition them.
That's right.
And it's a ridiculous, absurd lie.
It's evil, isn't it?
Humans have been around for a long time. Kids weren't killing themselves because they were born in the wrong body.
But if I believe, so this is the other thing that worries me a great deal, Chris, is this. If I believe that I was born in the wrong body, right, by definition I'm wrong, but if I believe I was born in the wrong body, this is what we're finding increasingly. If I have gender reassignment surgery, to the extent that it's possible to do that, I will still believe I'm in the wrong body. So the point is, I always give the example of the people who, there's a weird condition where people believe their arm is alien or their leg shouldn't be there. And nobody turns around and says, if you believe you shouldn't have this hand, let's chop off your hand. What they say is, look, you've got a weird thing with your hormones or with your mental health state, but it is not the solution to the arm problem to chop off your arm.
You're right, but do you want to hear something crazy?
Go on.
So that's a condition called apotemnophilia, where people think like their leg doesn't belong, for example.
Yes.
And a doctor did cut off some legs in
he
America.
talks about that.
And then they put a stop to it. But I was just at a conference last week, sitting beside a doctor who told me she was in the room when a surgeon signed off on cutting off a man's leg just because he wanted it cut off. For no good reason.
Well, we've just got
So
a
they're still
surgeon in
doing
this country who actually did amputate limbs, and he had a sexual fetish and he wanted his legs to be amputated. He froze them with dry ice, then got sepsis and had to go to hospital, and now all of his patients who had bits removed are saying, he's in prison now, are saying, well, maybe he removed my bits, you know, and he didn't need to. But the question I'd like, because you've looked into all these long-term studies, what's the percentage of people who have transitioned who then basically when they were kids talked into it have said, this is I've changed my mind. You can't obviously reverse it. They'll try things, but you'll never come back the way you were.
Well, you end up hideously disfigured.
What is the percentage of people that turn around and say, oh, this was a mistake when they're a few years down the line?
The most comprehensive study ever done where nobody was lost to follow-up, as often happens. You don't know what happens to them.
Yeah.
In Sweden, where nobody was lost to follow-up, the suicide rate 10 years after sex reassignment surgery was 19.1 times higher than their peers and 40 times higher than the general public. When I say 19.1 times higher than their peers, I'm talking about people with similar mental health comorbidities. I don't have the exact percentage.
Yeah, but what about actual
higher.
people who, you know, weren't going to commit suicide, but really, like there was someone here who sued the companies, you know, who they're not going to commit suicide, but they know it was a mistake. They're going to carry on with their lives. You know, is there any figures for that?
No, we don't have excellent statistics on this.
Because they don't want us to have them, do they?
It's probably
not. But there's also, in most countries in the world, if someone goes to this clinic and then they leave, you don't know what happens to them.
Yes, I get that.
They give them testosterone, they don't know what happens to them afterwards.
Here's what, no, I'll tell you what, why don't we go to a break and we'll keep chatting about this, but I'll tell you what I want to ask Chris next. I'm going to ask him and he can prepare the answer in the break. When I was a little boy, I used to watch these programmes about abuse in care homes in places like Wales, because there was all these documentaries about them, and I thought, how on earth could the authorities have allowed this to happen? And then, of course, I looked at the Tavistock Clinic and thought that's going to be exactly the same thing. In 5-10 years' time, we're going to have that. And I'm going to ask Chris how close we are to the prosecutions for the Tavistock straight after this.